It is such a shame that we often pile all our gratitude in a single 24-hour period when we're thinking about the women who are responsible for us being here on Earth. We certainly can do better. But on the other hand, I think it's worthy taking a single day to just celebrate the people that we call our mothers. Now, for those of you who are 100% villagers like myself, uh, things like birthdays, Mother's Day, anniversary mean very little. In fact, those of us who were born in the village, many of us don't even know our exact birth dates. Uh, so, in our village setting, these things like dates and chronological age mean very little. And historically, there's a precedence to it. Now, unfortunately, for those of us who left the village and moved to diaspora, uh, diaspora really leaves us no choice when it comes to these dates. And oftentimes for me, I have to put these dates on my calendar. Otherwise, chances that I'm going to forget one of these is there, and next thing I have more trouble than I need. Again, the question is, should people feel compelled to celebrate a holiday that can be very painful for many? So in this video, I want to talk with you about Mother's Day and review it with the hope of looking at some of the challenges that we experience in diaspora, especially those of us who come from the village straight into diaspora. But before we do that, welcome to Karating Friends. If you're joining us for the first time, we're in Western Kenya, in Kisumu. We are simply trying to create an amazing life in the village. And today we are hanging out with a bunch of future and current returnees. And you know, we can always find an excuse to party. And so we're just getting together, eating and talking and spending the afternoon away. So we're actually spending time in my brother's house. This is the house that my team built for my brother. It's a traditional pitch roof, 5-bed, 5-bathroom, and took us a little more than a year to get it together. And so if you're interested in things like this, you are thinking about construction, reach out. We've got teams that can help. If you need me to connect you with architects, builders, or things like that, we're happy to do so. Reach out. Anyway, Mother's Day is really meaningful for a lot of people, especially in diaspora. It's perhaps much more meaningful in the West than it is in the village. In fact, I don't remember people celebrating Mother's Day sort of in the village besides what's happening in church. However, for other people, Mother's Day can be a very difficult time, especially for those of us from diaspora. I mean, from the village to diaspora, and this can stem from the commercialization, the unique challenges faced by mothers, which I'm about to list. And so I'm just going to explain to you some of the things we struggle with for those of us who did not grow up around these kind of things. So in the Western world, especially in America, I don't know whether it happens everywhere, but in America, some of these holidays have been so over-commercialized that everything about Mother's Day and whatever day is focused on buying stuff, buy more, buy this, buy that. And especially this becomes even tougher if you are a village person who is married to a non-African, or married to a city girl, or if you're married to an African who has been assimilated. If you don't buy something on that day, you could be in trouble. So the focus on gifts and consumption is really intense, to the point that I would say that Mother's Day is often heavily focused on commercial activities, mostly commercial activities, like going out for dinner, which can be really stressful, especially if this is not your thing. And then you go out the restaurants, there's long lines, and it's not often the most fun time to go out. And then some people argue that this day can, in some way, reinforce traditional gender roles. Some people actually view Mother's Day as perpetuating the idea that motherhood is the pinnacle of success, which can be really problematic for those who find themselves in a different spot. And I say this because there are people who don't view themselves as mothers, or there are people who are not viewed as mothers, and I'll explain that later. Now, there's a specific group of mothers for whom Mother's Day is really painful, especially when they're thinking about the losses they've had. They're mothers who've lost children. They're mothers who've lost spouses, parents, and things like that, especially when those events happen on Mother's Day. So when the day rolls around, it's not a day for fun. So when you talk about loss, it might be something close to whatever happens to people who have not had biological kids or who have not been able to adopt kids. There are many people who have really struggled to get kids, either through biological means or through adoption. So sometimes Mother's Day is one of those days that I think we nearly forget that there are people who are really struggling with that. And so there's ways we can celebrate without necessarily making others feel left out. And this is also a problem that also affects mothers who are estranged or who have very difficult relationship with their kids. I know people who have no connections with their mothers, some for very legitimate reasons. There are some mothers who are extremely, extremely wild. I've seen very abusive mothers who abuse even their adult children. Like right now, I know of a person whose very own mother has taken him to court to steal his own property. I know mothers who have used strangers to harm their kids, mothers who take their kids' property, exploit them. There are mothers who really are terrible humans out there. Some of us are extremely lucky that we've been raised by women who are very wonderful, who have taken care of us. But not everybody has the luck of being raised by a wonderful mother. And some of our mothers have also struggled with mental health, personality disorders, and all kinds of things. And so because of those events, there are people who are estranged from their mothers. And so in some cases, when you have a mother who desires to have a relationship with kids when they don't, it's not fun. Then there's also the group of mothers who have difficult relationship with their kids, not because of their own doing. There are people who are just terrible humans who just don't care about their parents. I know people in my circles who are living very lavishly. And then you go home and you see the kinds of lives that their parents are living. It's very tough. I usually try to stay away from that stuff because you just never know what the backstory is. Sometimes we blame people for abandoning their parents only to find out that really those folks have really struggled with their parents, because they're people that are beyond help. Unfortunately, these difficult parents are the ones who will be the first to say how terrible their kids are. And then when you dig deeper, you find out that this is just a difficult parent and the kids have just simply given up. So it's a mix of scenarios. But yes, there are many, many people who have very difficult relationships with their mothers. So when Mother's Day rolls around, it's not easy. Now, the same happens with those of us who are stuck in diaspora, particularly those who don't have the ability to travel back and forth, either because of papers or because of economics. Some people have been away from home for over 30 years without seeing their parents. So each Mother's Day rolls around and they know they have not the ability to go spend time with their mothers. So distance is a massive problem for those of us who live in diaspora and don't have the ability to go see our parents. So whenever we talk about Mother's Day, yes, we remember our mothers, but it's not the same thing. Spending time with your own mother is not the same thing as being able to send money to them. No amount of money can replace that quality time you spend with your mother. So again, there are also mothers who talk about Mother's Day being a reminder of some of the losses they've experienced as a result of being a mother. There are people who had to sacrifice a lot in terms of careers because they were mothers. In fact, in the Western world, there are places where, for women, if you're a woman and you go for an interview with an engagement ring, you might actually lose that job, if you didn't know that. So women make a lot of sacrifices when they are forced to choose between their careers and their kids or their experience of being a mother. And so that day can also be a reminder of the losses you've had as a result of making the choice to be a mother. And of course, motherhood can also bring with it physiological changes that are not fun. Carrying a human being for 9-10 months can change a human body significantly. And I've known people who blame their kids for them gaining weight and several other things. And there are people who live with lifelong medical issues that came about as a result of having become a mother. And so while motherhood is extremely, extremely celebrated, so worthy, the truth is there's two sides to it. On the one side, we celebrate motherhood, but on the other side, there are some losses that come with the decision to become a mother. Now, besides that, when it comes to figuring out what our mothers or spouses want, some women are very difficult to figure out in terms of what they want. Like if I knew what you needed, it would be very easy for me to gift. And some of our mothers or sisters are never very clear as to what they want. So we take guesses. Sometimes we get it wrong, and it can be difficult. Just for us, men, just trying to figure out what a gift would make sense for those who care about gifts on Mother's Day. And then again, in general, each mother's experience with Mother's Day is unique. And it is important to acknowledge the diverse range of feelings and challenges that mothers face. I'm all for celebrating this, and that is actually my mom in her kitchen. I'm all for celebrating mothers any day, not just Mother's Day. I'm all for celebrating Mother's Day. But as we do that, I hope you spare thought for people whose experience are different. I'm not saying you shouldn't enjoy it to the fullest, but it's okay to spare thought to people for whom this day means something very different. Happy Mother's Day, friends, and I hope you have a lovely weekend with your loved ones, and I will see you in the next. Thank you.